Hi everyone. I thought I'd go on video just to be able to share some thoughts, especially since in lockdown, who do we have to talk to but ourselves, right? Or our laptop or the plants. Anyway, the topic I'd like to just discuss based on all the articles I've been writing is on the idea of duality. Everything in the world is black or white, left or right. There's always an opposing force, that of the feminine versus the masculine. And this is where we are right now during this period of the lockdown and the COVID virus. What it's showing is the extreme duality of the world and how we can work with it. So the working with it is trying to find that balance in the center. You have at its most intense nature slowly coming back into its own space while man is slowly getting to an extreme of trying to survive. Actually, that's what we're doing. We're trying to survive with this virus happening with us. And the balancing happening here has been because all this time for the past 20 years or even more, man has just been destroying the world totally in its own greed, totally just for themselves, for ourselves. So where we are right now is the earth balancing everything in preparation for a totally new level of being. The balancing needs to happen because the pendulum has swung too much to the left, where man has just taken over, and we've forgotten what nature has wanted. And I think for us who've lived and have been very conscious of trying to live in harmony with nature, it's really an awakening, especially for everybody, to try to see we need to come back to that balance. And that balance is about the reboot we're undergoing right now. This balance is also about the inner and the outer space, where the outer space is just everything we've created from our own minds that has all been locked into values as well as issues that are not part of what harmony in our world is, or harmony with what spirit is about. What we've been about is just us, our physical body, our egos, our desires, our greeds, and what we've forgotten is that of spirit, the divine spark that is in the soul inside us. So the balancing is also about the inner and the outer space, about the lower happening here and that of the macrocosm happening up there. Because if we think we're separate from everything, I think that's going to be the real egoistic, the most egoistic thing we can think about. The connection that is happening right now is that all of us are being forced to understand that our spaces inside that we're working on is as crucial as what we're battling outside with the virus, with the kind of world that we're living in. The space that we are aware of inside is being forced on us by the way the extremity of the world outside is. So we cannot see everything from just one perspective. It must be coming from the duality perspective. So the balance of ourselves inside is going to shift that which is going to be outside soon happening. I mean, when we say soon happening, this global pandemic is going to take almost like a year and a half for us to get back to a different kind of a normal, a different space, which is great because that's what has been the promise all this time of the ages. You know, I've been reading the planets and astrology for almost 35 to, I would say 35 years. And when you look at what's happening now, this period where we are has always been decreed upon, or it's been there. We are entering into what we call the age of Aquarius, a 2,000-year cycle where everything now is going to shift away from an old world that is dying. The world we are in now is dying. And this space where we are in now is the limbo. And that is why it is so crucial for us to find that balance in this limbo we are in. I'll talk more about the age of Pisces versus the age of Aquarius, where we're going in another video. But for now, I'd like to focus just on the idea of balance. Each of us, where we are right now, we're caught solitary, most of us with family only, in spaces that are locked in. Meanwhile, the world out there, the virus unseen, imagine it's unseen, and we have a whole an enemy unseen, has taken over. The mere fact that it is unseen means we're fighting the war of the spirit. It is about our own spirit wanting its own space in this world and must come up to a frequency that is much higher. If we want to look at duality, it is also about the idea of energy in two different spaces, the feminine passive and the masculine aggressive. But it is also about the low and the high, the lower frequency versus the higher frequency. So if the energies around have always constantly been very male, active, young, go out there in the world, push it out there, create success, it was a frenzied, young, male, aggressive energy that our world has been operating in. We are being asked to balance the feminine, the more quiet, the passive, the inner space, and the inner work. So, this space that we're in right now of introspection, of a lockdown in spaces that we have to stay within, where the physical body cannot be running around, is forced to stay in, is actually the wonderful balance of the feminine. Feminine not because of woman, but because of the energy that is quiet, passive, internal. So let's use this time to be able to just understand these two kinds of energies, to be able to quiet down the inner space, and to be able to just quiet down also a little bit of that very hectic, aggressive, doing energy. Just the being, which is very feminine and passive, versus that of the doing in our little space right now. So for now, just a nice meditation would really be this. The world is about duality, and the balance will come about because we stay in the center, aware of both sides, and in our own personal spaces, try to balance that. Our inner space and our outside space. In our little homes, in our little condos, in our own spaces we're in, the balance is crucial because in the work that we do in the internal space, we give service to a bigger energy, which is that of the spirit arising. I'll talk soon again, and thanks for listening.